Today I'm with the first pick. Get out of the way, Rand. It's the showcase.
Boom.
So we're at the Colorado, not the Pro Day. We're at the Colorado Showcase. The Big 12 Pro Day was a few weeks ago. Colorado's in the Big 12. So they had the showcase here, which showcased Colorado talent and initial impressions, and then we'll get into some details.
I tell you what, the production was grade A. It was top notch, very well put together. I thought they had it the good thing was the way they transitioned from drill to drill. They had people on the field, were able to get them out, transition to drills quickly, which is a really cool thing to see.
And I should point out, I'm Ryan Wilson. This is Rand Carthon from Titans GM, and we are here. The final Pro Day stop, the final showcase stop before the draft. I don't have and it's my bad, Rand, but we have 20 days.
20, the countdown.
What's today? Thursday?
Friday.
Yes, 20 days. All right, so we have 20 days until the 2025 NFL draft, which is crazy to think about. So it is go time. And we were talking about this a little bit yesterday. Shedeur is the last quarterback to throw. And is that added pressure or not? I was watching this Pro Day workout. Number one, I thought the ball came out quicker release than I saw on tape, which is great. His arm looked a little better in person. And I was reminded, we talked about this on HQ, he's the best deep ball thrower in this draft class. And he showcased that today. But was there any added pressure by being the last guy to go? And you had an interview with him that you guys can check out on CBSSports.com. And
please do.
CBS Sports YouTube. So any added pressure? Because it felt like he didn't seem to feel any of that.
I mean, it's in the last name. It's Sanders. They're used to pressure, used to being under the spotlight. And I don't even think he was probably aware that he had the last Pro Day of all the quarterbacks. I think he was just out here to showcase what he had to do. And I thought he did a really good job. Like you said, the ball came off his hand quick. But outside of the physical attributes, the cool thing for me to see in person was how he was in command.
Yeah.
And how he had command of not only what was going on, but motioning to his receivers like, hey, give me a little bit more. You pick up the tempo. And even telling his quarterback coach, like, hey, let's pick up this tempo a little bit. And then the way they ended the Pro Day, which was I had never seen, was with a 2-minute drill.
Yeah.
With all the receivers going. I thought that was really cool to see. And again, another moment to show his ability to be in command of what was going on.
And you talk about that 2-minute drill. I think that's a great opportunity to give a shout out to Director of Marketing Laura Resnick, who was here, who served as a field producer and got all the interviews set up. But I was telling her during that 2-minute drill, this is like a walking tour, because usually you just stay in one place, maybe at the 35-yard line, and you watch the quarterback throw from behind. But they had us moving up and down the field, getting our steps in while he showcased what he could do. Someone asked me how this Pro Day compared. And as I was watching it, I was thinking, I remember Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud's Pro Day. It felt like on that level in terms of consistency, how the quarterback performed, how he looked. Those guys went 1 and 2. And I think top 5 is what we're talking about with Shedeur. I don't know yet if we're willing to say that Cam's going first overall. It feels like he is, but I think that Pro Day that we saw from Shedeur measures up with guys who went 1 and 2 years ago.
Yeah, and I think, in talking to Shedeur, I think the number one thing he wanted to show was consistency. And I think he did that today. He was consistent with the ball, the placement of the ball. And like I said, every deep ball he threw was money.
On point.
Yep. I think 1 or 2 may have been dropped, but it wasn't on him. The ball was placed, properly. So he just did a really good job. He was in command. I wouldn't say that it was one of those things where it just completely wowed you.
Yeah.
But it was what you've grown to expect out of Shedeur in his performance each and every time you've seen him.
Yeah, I think that's right. That felt right. It felt like Cam Ward showed me some things that I was surprised to see. He showed it on tape, but to see it in person was impressive. But if you're in the Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud category for Pro Days, and those guys had really good Pro Days, I think that's exactly where you want to be 20 days out from the draft. The other young man we're going to talk about now, we'll talk about some other dudes as well, but Travis Hunter. You interviewed Travis. Check that out on YouTube and check that out on CBSSports.com. Another great interview. And a scout, I saw one of the scouts I know at the end of that Pro Day said, that guy moves different than everybody else. And to see it in person is crazy, even though you know what he did on tape the last 3 years.
The term I'm using for him is alien. And that's the only way you can describe Travis Hunter at this point. He's an alien. Why? Because it's something we've never seen before.
Right.
We've heard it exists.
We found it.
But we seen one.
Yeah.
And the thing is there's so much talked about, can he play both ways? Will he play both ways? And in our antiquated way of thinking, and because we've never seen it done, our first inclination is to say no. But watching him run routes, today, his lower body looseness, the way he was getting in and out of cuts, we've never seen it before. So why the hell not? Why not give him a chance to prove if he can do it? Because at the end of the day, if he can't play both ways, he's going to find a home at one of those other positions and excel at it.
One of the other things I was sort of surprised by is he's slight of frame. Does he have the frame to add? Two questions. Do you want to put 10 pounds on him for health reasons to keep him healthy? And number two, how will that affect his ability to do the things we saw him do today?
I think yes, first and foremost, yes, he has the frame to add 10 pounds. And it's a collaboration with the athlete. Like you got to ask him, what's the heaviest you've been and what's the heaviest you feel comfortable, right? Because we don't want to put our logic on him like, hey, you got to get to 195, 99 pounds, right, and that's going to keep you healthy. Well, all we know is his body's not used to carrying that type of weight, and now he's going to be more susceptible to pulls and strains in the other way.
Right.
So I think it's a collaboration with the athlete and where you feel most comfortable. But I think he has plenty frame to put on weight. But you see how tight-skinned he is and muscular, because even though he's slim, he's muscular.
Yes.
And you shaking his hand, you feel the grip strength in his hand, so it's strength in there. But like I said, man, this kid's an alien.
He was the number one player on my big board that came out a week or so ago. I can't put him any higher because he's number one, but the fact that he did this workout, and as you pointed out, he wasn't planning to do it until yesterday, so a relatively last-minute decision. And then he did it without gloves, like his 1937 out here with no gloves, snatching the ball out of the air like he's Marvin Harrison Sr.
Alien.
I think that's all there is to say about that. Let's talk about Shiloh, Shedeur's brother, who plays safety, and he's a hard hitter. There's no doubt about his ability to come downhill and smack people. There were some concerns about how fast he would run. He ran 4.53, I think. That's plenty fast to play safety.
Plenty fast to play safety. And I don't think, he does have the straight line. I think the biggest thing that you wanted to see with him was the change of direction.
Yep.
And I thought he did a pretty solid job of that in the drills. And Shiloh is one of those people that I think once you get him in a training camp, you're going to find a place for him. And I think he's going to be able to excel on special teams. When we were leaving the building here yesterday, and we saw his nice vehicle, and you saw his tag, and it was personalized, and it was headache.
Yeah.
And I think that's what his game is. A guy that's going to come put his face on you and just try to knock you in the middle of next week.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm just looking at my notes here. Almost 6 feet, 196, ran the 4.53, and that's exactly where you want to be.
I think if you look at the average measurables for safety, he checked all those boxes.
Not average in terms of physical measurements, but this young man plays extremely fast. He's a track guy. Jimmy Horn Jr., 5'8", 173. Now, let's start here, and I'll get to the rest of the measurements in a second. When you have your meetings and your guy stands up and says, okay, Jimmy Horn Jr., 5'8", 173, where does the conversation go from there? Because in terms of like average measurables, that's going to be below the line.
Yeah, he would definitely, from a measurable standpoint, would be below the line. But then that's when the analytics come in. The analytics comes in about, guys at that size, like how long have they been able to play in the league and what type of impact. And then is there a comp? Is there a comp for him and who you think he reminds you of? And then again, you go back and you trust what you see on the tape.
Right.
And then there's a certain level and a certain time that you want to take a guy because you don't want to have too many outliers, on your team.
That's a good point.
But a guy like him, man, first of all, he's a Florida boy, so I know he's wired different.
He's tough.
And just the way he goes out and he plays the game and just watching him move today and the speed and the burst and the acceleration, it was on full display.
4.4 to spoiler alert there in terms of what he ran. And as I mentioned, he's a track guy. He was a 10.5 guy in high school in the 100, and he said he's faster than 4.4, and I believe him. And we saw him during the workouts with Shedeur. He looked like he would be hard to cover. Now, if you get your hands on him, maybe that's a different situation, but you put him in motion, you put him in the slot, you can figure out ways to get him open, and he did that at Colorado the last 2 years. So I don't have any concerns there. I think there's an opportunity for 5 or 6 guys to get drafted. Now, we know Shedeur and Travis are going to be near the top, but then after that, anywhere I'm thinking probably day 3-ish, anywhere in that range, but we'll find out. Another guy I want to mention, and he didn't get a combine invite, and I want to ask you about that as well. Will Shepard, Vandy transfer, 6'2". He weighed 196 as well. And Will, 79-inch wingspan, 40.5 vert. He ran a 4.54. Talking to his agent and Will after the workout, and he said he was training in the 4.4, so he didn't get there, but he's had to hit that before. You hear that all the time. That's why you're laughing. Well, okay, he was training the 4.2s, and if we're going to go down that road, why wouldn't he get a combine invite? Because physically, he does a lot of the things that you look for in this big wide receiver who can play inside or out.
It could just be one of those years from a top to bottom that the receiver position from top to bottom is just loaded.
It is.
It may not necessarily be at the top, but it could be a bunch of guys in that, like you said, that day 2, day 3 range. And it just could be that. But I think he's done some really cool things here at Colorado. His ball skills, the way he tracks the ball, his body control.
High point.
Yeah, he's really good in those areas. And then for him to jump a 40, today shows
40 and a
that
half. Got to give him that.
Excuse me, 40 and a half. But he does have some explosiveness,
right?
Out of there. And guys running the 40, it could be a multitude of things on why you would run, 4 or 5. I mean, again, if he didn't go to the combine, this was his one shot. So you don't know how tight he was just in the mental part of running the 40. Again, it's another reason for us to go back and look at the play speed, and possibly if you want to check your work, go and look at the GPS, get the GPS timings from here
and that's
in Colorado.
Important.
And so you can have a better understanding of what his true play speed is. Because as we know, there are a ton of 4-2, not a ton of 4-2 guys. Let me backtrack that. But there are guys who time very well that don't play that fast.
Right.
And again, it's about play speed. And the part of speed that people don't realize that plays a big part in it is the mental, right? Because, and I like to use the analogy of if you and I were leaving the airport, going to your house, and you gave me the address, I have the directions on how to get to your house. You're going to get there faster than me because you're not thinking about it.
Right.
You're just going, which light is a little bit longer, so you might blow through the yellow or what have you. Even though I have the directions, I'm looking at, is this the 400 feet to make this right? So I'm not going to be able to drive and move as fast. And a lot of these guys are the same way, where you're tight because I got to run fast.
Yeah.
Or they simply don't know what they're doing from a play speed standpoint in the game. They're not sure of what they're doing. And I think you see a lot of that in the preseason, which I think we'll talk about it at another time. But you don't know why. He could have legitimately been trained in the 4.4s and ran the low 4.5.
Laughed at him, though.
But because you hear that all the time, man, this guy was trained. Man, he ran 4. I won't say his name. He'll probably kill me if he sees this. So don't watch. We knew in school he was a 4.6 guy all day.
Yeah.
And as he was training, he's, I've been training in the 4.3s. And I'm like, yeah, you've never run a 4.3. But that's the trainer's job, is to make you at least feel like he's gotten you faster. But when, in my opinion, whether you're fast or not, that's all mom and dad.
Yeah, and that's a great point about the directions, and you sort of hit on it in addition to running. But once these young players get into the league, and whether you're a cornerback trying to figure out where you're supposed to be on a certain coverage, or whether you're a wide receiver trying to figure out which route you're supposed to run, you can see those guys, the clock's turning, the wheels turning, trying to figure out where they're supposed to be. And as they get more comfortable, and a lot of times, 2.5 months into the season, it starts to make sense. And like, okay, they're not thinking about it; they're out there playing. By the way, producer Debo is behind the controls, and I mentioned that, Debo, because I don't know if you saw the HQ hit that Rand and I did, but what do you think Rand ran the 40 in coming out?
4.2.
Debo.
Oh, Debo said 4.2.
My man.
Tell him.
I ran 4.4 at the combine, and I ran 4.3 at my pro day.
Okay.
I ran track.
What was your laser time? 4.1?
I was training in the 4.1s.
Oh, you were a track guy too, so you were like 100 guy?
No, I ran track in high school.
Okay.
State runner-up my 1 year that I was healthy. My junior year, state runner-up in
the
100. Yeah. And I actually ran in a track meet at Florida on the 4x1 team. Ran third leg at 227 pounds.
You know who the triple jump champ is among us here? Laura's triple jump in high school.
Yeah, see, I couldn't. My hips wouldn't allow me to do that. I was straight line. If you would have stopped and told me to make a cut, that was a completely different thing. But track guy, I've always been able to used to.
Yeah.
Because if you ask me what I run now, I run a 4 ever. So
that's fine though.
That's all I got.
You don't need to run unless the bear is chasing you. So
and even at that point, I'm not running.
Just be faster than the guy you with. So it's me and you. You're okay.
I'm pushing you down, but you're in better shape than me. So
come on, let's not go there.
Ryan, who was there today?
Oh,
could you see?
People loves behind the scenes, and this is the guy for behind the scenes stuff. So who were some celebrities? I didn't see any celebs. I saw a lot of I saw Champ Bailey was here with his son. Yeah. That was fun to see. So cool. Any outside of football celebs, or just the football?
No. So DJ Hollywood Bebe was here. He's a Shreveport legend. Debo, you should know this because you're a hip hop head. So it's on A Baby. A Baby.
Debo.
That's it was a song. I think it was Hurricane Chris. He did the song, but that was based on Hollywood Bebe, who was here today.
Debo, what do you got?
You got that one, Debo?
Yes, I know that song.
Oh, he laughed. He goes, "Yeah, come on."
2007.
Hollywood Bebe.
2007.
Hollywood Bebe was here today.
Okay, who else you see?
I'm trying to think. I think that was really it.
It wasn't as star-studded as you might expect. Like, it's not like the sidelines for a Colorado game in the fall sometimes.
Yeah. Because I think at the end of the day, what they wanted, and this was exactly what it says back here. Showcase. It was to showcase the kids, and not make it a star-studded event and just make it all about the kids. Because as much and as visible as Coach Prime is, he was off to the back, to the side. He was kind of out of the picture. And I'm sure there was a camera on him at some point somewhere, but it was generally about the kids today.
Yeah, I saw Champ, and I don't think I saw anyone else in terms of legends or other football royalty, but it was good. Champ looked like he was in great shape too.
Yeah, man, it was awesome. That was my first time meeting Champ, and I had a really good conversation with him because, again, Champ Bailey was a two-way player, coming out of college, and we talked about that. We talked about, he asked me my opinion on it with Travis, and I guess he does some media stuff, and he has some opinions, about it. And then I saw a cool moment. Travis came over to show some love and appreciation to Champ. And Champ handed me his phone. Was like, "Hey man, can we get this picture?"
Nice.
And I was like, "Man, this was just a cool moment," because, in my opinion, Travis is in that realm in terms of two-way players, because it was Champ, then it was Chris Gamble, and now it's Travis.
Chris Gamble at Ohio State. That's right. Oh, Devo, you'll appreciate this, and you can add to this if you saw other people. Owner Jimmy Haslam was here.
Yes.
GM Andrew Berry was here, and Coach Kevin Stefanski was here, all from Cleveland. So they were front and center. I think I had read they're working out Shedeur tomorrow. Is that?
I believe so. What's today's Friday?
Today's Friday.
Either tomorrow or Sunday.
Okay, so
he's going to work out with those guys.
And they have the number 2 pick if you're.
The Giants contingency was here. Head coach, GM, OC. They actually had draft meetings this morning. They did a little bit of draft meetings and flew straight here to be here. Giants, not Giants, the Titans GM in front office was here, as well as offensive coordinator Nick Holtz. He was here. I'm trying to think other Sean Payton.
We saw Sean Payton, saw George Payton.
Sean Payton, George Payton were here.
The Broncos.
So it was a good turnout. Again, the one thing that I thought that was impressive was how the access that Coach Prime and his staff gave to the families to be up on the drills, but with respect to the scouts, and it still didn't impede on them. So that was a cool thing to see. But it was a large contingency of people here. And when Shedeur was throwing, this place was absolutely quiet. You couldn't hear anything. You could hear everything.
Yeah.
And then it got to a point where I think the players were like, well, we need a little juice in here. And so they asked for the music to be turned up, and we got that towards the end.
I don't know if you heard this, but Laura and I were standing off to the side. Shedeur came over and told the family to literally applaud after every throw because it would help Shedeur get his mind right. And I thought he was kidding, but he came back and said, no, I need you to. And so halfway through, people were clapping after every completion.
And there was a moment in there that, we'll see because I'm sure it's going to be broadcast everywhere, where he found his rhythm.
That's what Shiloh was alluding to.
And once he found his rhythm, that's when he started commanding to the quarterback, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go. Because he found a rhythm. He was throwing the ball because there's some throws where the ball didn't come out clean.
Yeah.
And I think once he found it where the ball started to get tighter, then I think he showed it. But then I went back and I was thinking about, because the first thing in my brain is to give a pro day evaluation.
Yeah.
And if I'm evaluating the pro day, I thought he threw the ball well, but I would say that the ball wasn't tight, But then you go back and you think about it, like, well, Peyton Manning didn't throw a tight ball. And
How did he turn out?
And Peyton Manning threw a lot of wobbly touchdowns in his league.
You know what's funny? I noticed that too when Shedeur was warming up, and I remember thinking at the C.J. Stroud pro day, the ball didn't come out clean every time. And I asked our buddy Rick about it. He goes, it doesn't matter.
Get it there.
Right.
Get it there accurately, and that's his game. His game is being able to process, get the ball out, and get it there. He's accurate. I was going back. I was just looking at numbers, one night because I'm a weirdo in the middle of the night. And, you realize Shedeur had 50 career starts in college and finished with a 70% completion percentage. You don't do that by accident. And I know there'll be a group of people that say, oh, well, he dink and dunk. Well, guess what? Sometimes you got to do that.
You know who else did that? Bo Nix. How did Bo Nix's first year turn out? If you go to the right place and you have the people around you, and the Broncos were not good before Sean and Bo got there, you can make things work. One thing I want to ask you, and Debo, if there's anything else you want to add, let me know. But I want to ask Rand one more thing before we get out of here. Shedeur's not a rah-rah guy. When you're evaluating quarterbacks in the draft meetings, how important is that? How unimportant is it? He's not going to be in your face like a Peyton Manning might be, for example. How does that weigh in terms of how he's going to fit in your program?
It doesn't.
Okay.
It doesn't, just for the simple fact that's a personality trait.
Yeah.
And you have some guys that are just more quiet demeanor.
Yep.
But a guy like Shedeur, he may not be boisterous on the sideline, but I've seen him go to a guy, pull him to the side, and say what he needs to say to that guy and get a response. You didn't see it today, but it was a route. Well, it wasn't a route. They were looking for Travis to run a route.
Yeah.
And Travis was off to the side. I think he may have been getting some water or doing something. And it went unnoticed by most people. But Shedeur kind of went to him and was like, hey, man, come on. Like, you need to be locked in. Let's go.
Yeah.
And Travis just looked at him and was like, okay. And those are little things that where you don't have to be boisterous all the time. And sometimes, if I'm being honest, like that wears the loud and that wears guys out, and guys start to tune out, and then you lose the message.
And the other thing that you have to be wary of is that you don't want to be inauthentic and try to be someone you're not, because that's what the box you're supposed to fit in, and then everyone tunes you out for that reason as well. So
yeah, absolutely.
be you, and then everything else to take care of itself if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. Debo, you have anything else?
20 days away. I want predictions for both Shedeur and Travis, where they end up.
Debo says 20 days away. He wants predictions for where Shedeur and Travis go. So I'll do the easy part. The Tennessee Titans select Cam Ward. So pick number 2, Cleveland Browns are on the clock. You or Jimmy Haslam, put on your little white wig. What are you going to do?
They're taking a Colorado player.
You got Debo is very, very stunned. You want me to make a prediction?
No.
I'll do it if you don't want to.
No. Honestly, I think, in this situation, like when we did the mock draft, I took Shedeur.
It makes too much sense.
And it makes too much sense. And sometimes situations when it makes too much sense, it makes people uncomfortable. But I think with where the program is, I think the organization, I think Cleveland takes Travis.
Interesting. Okay.
I think they take Travis just because it's such a unique, position. And there might be a quarterback that they like a little bit later.
Okay.
Or a situation, because Andrew isn't, afraid to move up and down.
Yeah.
Or they trade back in and take someone else.
Right.
So if we're doing it today and just based off of the field and everything I get, I think Travis is safe there. Again, Shedeur would be a lock-in fit from a positional standpoint, and checking the box, because right now Deshaun Watson is not healthy.
No.
And then Kenny Pickett is your only other quarterback on the roster who will be a free agent.
And Jimmy Haslam made it clear that they made a mistake with Deshaun's contract, so it sounds like they're moving on.
And so then, because if you think about it, even if they sign a quarterback off the street, your QB1 for 2026 is still not on the contract.
Right, because Kenny Pickett's on his rookie deal, and that's about to expire after this season.
Exactly. So, I was saying it tongue in cheek that they're going to take a Colorado guy, but I think both of those guys fit there. But I think Travis.
Okay, that's fine. I'm going to ask you a broader follow-up. 3 is the Giants. 4, who's picked 4? New England, so they're not taking a quarterback. I want to go down to 9. Does Shedeur get past the Saints at 9? Because they have Derek Carr. They restructured his deal. We know that Kellen Moore's a new quarterback, a new head coach there, former quarterback, and Shedeur feels like he'd fit a need down there as well.
No, I think that's a great fit for him. And I wouldn't be so surprised or shocked, depending on who's available to him at 5, that someone trades into that spot of 5 to take a quarterback if he gets out of that top 4. But the Saints will be a great fit, and the way Shedeur throws the ball and the way his game is, which is being in command, being accurate, playing on time, taking the completion. That's Kellen Moore's offense.
Yes,
and it fits to a T. And so I think that'll be a good fit. For them, I know that I think they're in meetings as well. And their quarterback coach was here.
Okay, there you go.
Today, and I know they visited other pro days, and so I'm pretty sure they're looking at the quarterback position.
All right, Debo, my prediction is that Shedeur should go number 2, and then you take Travis number 3 for the Giants, and done. Because if you don't take Travis, whoever you are, whenever he's available, you might not have a job.
I think Travis is safe to say he won't get out of the top 5.
And Travis is a pick. It feels like that if you're a GM and maybe you feel like your seat's a little warm, if you take Travis, that's not the reason you're going to get fired.
Right. And I heard someone say it here earlier, and I agree with him. You're talking about objectively the number 1 receiver in the draft and the number 1 corner in the draft. Alien.
2 for 1.
2 for 1. You figure it out. Get him there and figure it out. And at least you got a legitimate playmaker on your team.
All right, Debo. 20 days away.
20.
That's it from us here at the Colorado Showcase. They have turned off the lights. We've been here so long. Remember, catch the podcast wherever you get your podcast, and we'll be back next week. We got a lot of stuff to talk about.
You know why?
Tell them.
Because we ain't hard to find.
Thanks to all you guys who watch and listen. Thanks, Steve, for producing. Thanks to my guy, Rand. And we'll see you guys on the next one.